And we are back. We are back from Spain. It was incredible. We are back. You are tuned into 103.9 WYAB, and this is the Andrew Gosser Show. It is Friday, October 10th. Happy birthday to my beautiful sister, Megan. Happy birthday, Megan. Love you dearly. Look, we got so much to get into, but we got to make sure we set all the ground rules right. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at WYAB.com, the mothership. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in over the airwaves. But if you can't get us on the airwaves, you can always pick us up on the stream, and we do appreciate that. I am on X. It's at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. Would really appreciate a follow over there for sure. And the number today, I know that there's a lot that's gone on in the past week, but there's a lot we have to talk about and discuss. But I know that there are people who want to get in and let us know what they're thinking too. The number is not changed. It is 601 879 0002. The text line is open. Over 200 texts. I quit counting after 200 texts while I was gone. You guys are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Over 200 texts. If you want to do that, the number is 601 879 5060. Our job here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We're here to equip the saints. And I'm just telling you, this keeps get put on my head and on my heart over and over again. The stranger who is among you will rise above you higher and higher, and you will go down lower and lower. He will lend to you, but you will not lend to him. He will be the head, and you will be the tail. Ladies and gentlemen, the immigration issue is not going away. And before we talk about the immigration issue, I've got to thank a couple of gentlemen. First of all, Brother Chris Hinkle at BF Conservative on X. Brother, thank you for filling in those 2 days. It was really, really good to see you and have you filling in for me. I appreciate it greatly. You with your podcast and what you're doing, it's going places, and you are definitely doing things, and it's wonderful. I just can't tell you how grateful I am. I have someone like you that allows me to go ahead and take a trip, which was planned well before this opportunity ever came to me back in May. We had this plan to go to Spain, and I didn't want to give up on it if I was healthy enough to go. And the doc said, "Hey, you're in great shape. Let's hit it." So we went over there. And Chip Matthews, brother, thank you so much, Chip. You know, Chip is the morning guy here from 6 to 7. He also runs Acme Pizza out there in Flowwoods. Just great dude. And Chip, I really appreciate you checking in on me, making sure that, hey, if I didn't get back on time, that you were ready to go. And that is just a testament to your character, dude. I appreciate it. Chris and Chip, thank you, thank you, thank you. I also want to say thanks to Brother Matt and everybody else here at the station who allowed me to take this. You know, I'm the new guy, and here I am gonna blast off on a Saturday or on a Friday afternoon to go to Spain. And let me tell you, that's where I want to start, because there are some really good life lessons from Spain that I brought back, and I'm just like, holy smokes. Holy smokes. Amelia, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. First of all, we've talked about this in the United States, the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. After going to Spain for a week and just casually eating, I didn't eat like a glutton. I ate what I thought was healthy. I had the very best oyster I've ever had in my life over there in Madrid. It was unlike any oyster I've ever had before. And the Sweet Bee and Toots McCracken and I, we go get oysters. We enjoy oysters. They're really good. This just came with lemon. You didn't even have any of the horseradish or any of the cocktail sauce. This was just a straight oyster, and there was so much salt water inside the oyster. I don't know what they did with this, but it was absolutely incredible. It's on my Facebook, me chowing down that oyster, and it was incredible. The food over there is so good. You can literally taste the food. When I came home and I started eating American food, I know this is gonna sound crazy. This is gonna sound so weird, but I'm telling you, I can literally taste the chemicals. I don't know how else to explain it other than I feel like I taste the chemicals, and I don't want it. I genuinely feel, with someone who is battling a tough disease with like Parkinson's. I'm not complaining about it, make it all about me, but I'm telling you, when you start getting sick like that, you kind of look and see what works to help you combat that. And I can tell you, I wasn't taking as much medicine over there. I can tell you, I didn't have the shakes like I did there, or like I do here. The bread, man, was absolutely incredible. The paellas were delicious. If you go to Madrid, they have the chocolate churros. You have to try that. The food over there is absolutely stellar, and the thing about it is I didn't even think it was that expensive. I'll tell you what, the breakfast sandwiches I was eating over there, I feel I have really good breakfast sandwiches back here in Mississippi. I got my own eggs. My wife makes the bread. We get a pretty good butter, and we try to find the really good cheese when possible. Sometimes we won't. So I'll just make little egg sandwich every morning before I come into work. But I can tell you the egg sandwiches that I were eating over there were just different. And let me tell you, they had this one egg sandwich where they diced up capicola, salami, and some other spicy meat. And it's an egg sandwich with just spicy meat. And I tell you what, I would eat that every day, twice a day. It was incredible. I'm like, "I'm gonna figure out how to make this." And it was really great to just spend time with the sweet bee and Toots McCracken. Toots McCracken, my daughter, had a great time. The sweet bee had a great time. We got to go do some things that we didn't think we were gonna be able to do, quite frankly. We weren't sure if I'd make another overseas trip. Definitely fine going around United States, but a flight like that, kinda tough sometimes for me personally. But we made it. I can't tell you Madrid absolutely blew London out of the water. Madrid absolutely blew London out of the water, which hurts because everybody knows the world famous Arsenal play in London. I do hope to go back there again, but we see the craziness that's going on in London. I just don't know if I'll make it back there. But what I will say is that for all the good stuff that Spain has going on, there were a lot of detractors too. And one of those detractors is Agenda 2030. And if you're not familiar with it, you should be. But basically, it is your digital ID passport, which is going to control everything that you do. Now, as we know, Great Britain, England, however you want to call that, they have broken away from the EU. The EU is totally pushing this digital ID. I am not sure if Great Britain is not, but we should be doing everything humanly possible here in the United States to be fighting that. Because the truth of the matter is once you get this digital ID and it gets plugged into the network, you think that uh, Arctic Frost, that spying operation, you thought that was bad with the FBI. It's going to allow other nations to get our stuff. And people say, "That's not gonna happen, it's not designed to do that." Yeah, well, it wasn't can't Arctic F I keep on saying Arctic Fox because that was the name of a operation we were on, but Arctic frost will happen not just here in the United States, but it will happen all around Europe, it will happen all over Southwest Asia, it will definitely happen in China, and China is already doing their own thing, they've already got their system on lockdown, and that part of Spain made me feel really sad. Now, we did take the train from Madrid to Barcelona, which was basically 2.5 hours. It was a high-speed gravity train. I mean, that thing was rocketing along at 298 kilometers an hour. We were moving and grooving. It was really cool. It was really clean. I I I can't stress enough when I look at a city like Barcelona or Madrid, and then I compare it to a city like Chicago or New York. It's night and day. It is night and day. Now, I'm not sitting here to say that everything's all rainbows, sunshine, and unicorns, and candy corns, and sugar drops. No, there's a lot of problems, and we're gonna talk about some of those, but I have to tell you, as someone who hasn't gone on a vacation in a long time to, actually get out and enjoy it, and everybody's like, you just went to London." That was a little bit different experience, and, that was a tough one, quite frankly. This was a vacation where I was actually able to enjoy it, go walk around. Um, got some great stories. I got the story of the great Americans, and then there's always the ugly American that you see over there, and 2 great contrasting stories with that I wanna talk into about. I wanna talk about the most interesting Uber ride of my life inside Barcelona and kinda give you some details, and I'll tell you what, Sweet Bee was looking at me, Toots McCracken was looking at me, I was looking at them, my eyes were really big, and just the story in and of itself, it will lead us on to the problems that we're having here in the United States, and Sharia law, and how it's coming, and you might not think it is, but ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that it is. We were going to take our first break, and when we get back, we'll talk about Sharia law, not just here in the United States, but over in Spain too. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. We are back at the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. The phone lines are open 601 879 0002. Text line is open at 601 879 5060. And I have to tell you about this car ride. And honestly, uh, it's important to understand when you are traveling overseas, you want to always make sure you are aware of your surroundings and where you are. So we are in downtown Barcelona on the beach there, and I guess I should start the story with the good American. I want everybody to know that America. There's a lot of people over there who really love us, and Sweet Pea and Toots McCracken were out frolicking in the water. And I went over to sit over on the side and just people watch, which was fun in and of itself. But there was this a medical problem that was out there on the beach, and I saw two people over there working on them, and then the lifeguards come and the ambulance shows up, and I'm just sitting there watching everything, and I see these two guys come back, and I'm like, "Hey, what happened over there?" "Oh, just someone fainted and came unconscious. Think they were dehydrated." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, we had it all assessed. You're good to go." I'm like, "That's pretty awesome. How long have you been in?" And he's like, "How long? How do you know this?" And I'm like, that tattoo on the your back right there, that with the big anchor and the Corman logo, along with the USN, might be an identifier. But these guys were in shape. They were out there enjoying the Barcelona beach, and it was amazing to hear the people just say Americanos, Americanos, and talking about these two outstanding. And I don't know if they were active duty reservists, whatever, but they were clearly military, Navy. One was definitely a corpsman. I don't know what the other guy was, but that kind of sets me on this path. So we've got the good American. So Burnt Sweet Pea, Toots McCracken, and we start going to get some ice cream. We start walking around, and all of a sudden, we start looking on the ground and on the walls. It it they're just telling us to walk a certain path, and spray painted all over the place. Foreigners go home. Jews get out. You're not welcome. All over the place. Free Palestine. And I look around, and all of a sudden, it doesn't look like downtown Barcelona. We have clearly gone into somewhere that we should not have been. And I turned to Sweepy. I'm like, let's just get an Uber and get out of here. You could see we were being stared at, looked at, followed. I'm not tactically quick on my feet. Me and high speed, that's kind of a laughing joke. Think I'm moving that quick. And we got out of there, and we get into the car, and we're like, "Oh, sweet, we're gonna go look at this other place." And the guy goes, "Okay," and he starts talking in Arabic. No big deal, no big deal. Now there are some words that you should understand in Arabic. It's just good to know. I know these words. I've been deployed over there multiple times. And one of the most common phrases you'll hear is "Hamdulillah, Hamdulillah." And it just simply means praise be to God. This guy just starts saying "Hamdulillah, Hamdulillah." And I'm just sitting there saying, praise be to God. And I'm like, cool. Now, Toots McCracken's big brown eyes, she's sitting there, and she's like, not really realizing what's going on. This guy's actually talking to somebody on the phone, and I'm just letting you know, I don't speak the language very well, but I know a few keywords. And it was a family member. It's talking about how, hey, I'm not doing as well as I used to be. And the next word comes out, inshallah. Now, if you hear this, this word should make you feel not uncomfortable, but it should make you kind of, hey, what's going on here? What am I looking at? And what this means is if God wills. So how I made it out is hey, I'm going to get better. It's if God wills. The other thing about Amdulillah real quick, sometimes people will say that if you sneeze, They might tell you alhamdulillah, which just basically means praise be to God. And it's just like saying God bless you. It's not a big deal. The inshallah is a pretty big deal. It's God's will. It's almost like a Christian praying, saying, God, if this is what you want, if this is your desire. And we're driving around, and I hear that one. I'm like, okay, we've got but two things going here. And all of a sudden, this sermon that this guy's listening, that his grandfather or father, whoever he is talking, gets really bad. And that's when the Allahu Akbar start coming, and he starts slapping his leg. And it's at this point where I'm like, oh, this is not good. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons, but when you see people screaming that word and slapping your legs, it's been my experience in the past that bad things start happening. And I'm like, where are we at? Can I dive out the door? We were terrified. Luckily, we rolled right up. We got out. We said thank you. But it really brought us to a point of contention where we were like, what did we just listen to? We are so naive. I didn't understand 3/4 of that conversation, but it made all of us realize, hey, we need to pay a little bit more attention to our surroundings, and realizing that, you know, the migration of Islam is definitely raging through Spain. Even in the very cleanest parts of Spain, even in what I would consider not necessarily the touristy sections, but just good sections of Spain, neighborhoods and everything. It was so, it wasn't like disappointing. It was just shocking to see beautiful architecture, buildings and everything, and then spray painted in graffiti, free Palestine, Jews go home. And there are other things that were spray painted, and I had translated. Can't say those words on the radio, obviously, but you get the picture. So I get back to the United States, and I'm like, this is something that I want to talk about. And it's not Islamophobia. It's not. Although the left is going to try to paint us into that box, and we cannot be painted into that box. So why not have somebody try to explain this, what's actually happening with Islamophobia, what's actually happening with Islam and the political left. And this guy's from Iran, and he's going to break it down in 55 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, here we go.
I'm a political refugee from Iran. I've been to prison. I've been under Islamic law, and I know how it starts and I know how it ends. And it always starts with the, for some reason, unity of left and Islamists, and it scares me. So I came here to be free. I chose Canada as my second home to be a...
I'm sorry you chose Canada, brother. I know we're going to correct it here in a second, but Canada maybe not your best choice there.
Live in a free country, and I'm beginning to get really scared because the way things are going, it looks like they're going to basically appease Islamists just to not raise any ruckus or something. They're just going to appease them step by step, and they're not going to stop. They see it as a sign of weakness, so they're going to take more and more, and I'm against that. I believe Canada should be free, and freedom of speech is something that nobody can take.
And that was MRC Newsbusters on it. And this is a guy who lived in Iran under Sharia law. And I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, we've got to start burning down. That's not what I am saying. But what I am saying is that Sharia law is completely incompatible with the United States of America. And those people who want to bring that stuff here, they shouldn't be allowed here. No. And especially to all these, and I'm not even going to call them boomers. I'm just going to call them people who are over the age of 55, 60, who are sitting here doing this kumbaya dance saying we need to embrace everybody. That, you went to Woodstock, you burned your bras, you got this fifth wave feminism garbage going on, and everything that you believe, and now that you're partnering with Islam, is gonna be turned away from you, and the bras that you were burning in the '60s, your granddaughters and great-granddaughters are gonna be wearing burqas in another 10 years. And the thing is that they say, "Oh, no, we're only gonna wear it in our little enclaves." Well, those little enclaves grow and grow and grow. Look at Dearborn, Michigan. It's staggering. This has come from Eric Doherty. The Florida legislator is now considering a ban on Sharia law form being enforced in the state of Florida. I think that's a great idea. We should do that in every state. Andrew, what about the separation of church and state? Let's have that debate again. The truth of the matter is they don't wanna have the debate between church of the freedom of separation of church and state because they know they'll get absolutely crushed. It's not that it's not even debatable, it's just that when you lay out the facts of what was going on and how the Constitution was manipulated, in my opinion, by some left-wing crazy judges way back in the '50s and '60s, it set us on this path. I think Clay Edwards is doing a great job in the morning, especially when he's talking about the culture rot, and I just have to say, I see the culture rot. I see it. You know, 20 years ago, 68% of America thought were identified themselves as Christian. Now it's only 49%. Would you say that America was better 20 years ago or today? What's it gonna be? The truth of the matter is the more that this it is, it's a virus. The more that we get away from our roots and what made this republic amazing was it was formed under the prayer of God by a bunch of godly men who were chasing. They're not saying they're perfect. Let's not be kidding ourselves here, but they gave us the best form of government, and it was based on the moral values of the Bible. It just is what it is. And we're getting away from that. And so now states are trying to correct, and it's going to be interesting to see how the courts handle this. This is a whole nother. We've got so much going on. I'm long. When we get back, we'll start talking about the courts and what they're going to do with Sharia law. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah. We are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Great news coming to WYAB at the end of the month. We're going to be broadcasting at 50,000 watts. 50,000 watts. That's incredible. As Rush would say, that's a 50,000 watt blowtorch. And here it's going to be the little WYB, the little radio station that nobody thought could do anything. And here we're having these great impacts. We're expanding. We are growing. And we invite you to grow with us. If you have a business that you think you want to promote and you want to get interaction to the WYB listening audience, which is incredibly loyal and very much appreciate all the sponsors who sponsor shows on our station. But if you want to get involved with that, now would be the great time to do that. Because once we hit 50,000 watts, we're going to be all the way over to Meridian. We're going to be Vicksburg, outside of Gulfport, and up almost to Oxford, if I'm looking at the picture right. We are going to have such a stronger signal to get in front of more people, to reach more people. Businesses are going to have new ideas, reach new audiences. It's a great time to be growing here at WYAB. So that's going to be a big announcement coming. And I heard Clay talk about this morning. I've got to let my audience know as well. Coach Tommy Tuberville, also known as Senator, he got on in the well of the Senate, and he said this, and I want to play it because I feel it's important.
You also won't hear from Democrats about how radical Islamic terrorists are currently carrying out a mass genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Think about this. More than 62,000 Christians have been slaughtered since 2000 by radical Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. You heard that right, 62,000. And just this year alone, more than 7,000 Nigerian Christians have been murdered because of their faith alone. You can't turn on the TV without hearing about Israel's so-called mass genocide of Palestinians every day. And yet when it comes to 62,000 Christians being slaughtered by radical Muslims, it's radio silence. This extreme ideology is straight from the pit of hell, and it has no place in American society.
I agree with Senator Tuberville there. Christians get persecuted all over the world, and it always goes either underreported or not reported at all. And what's going on in Gaza, if you really want to know, go buy Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, and go read it. It'll take you 2 days. It's not that big of the book, but the strategy that's entailed in that will make things evidently clear of what people are trying to do in Gaza. Now, President Trump has come out and said we got phase 1 quickly being agreed to. Hopefully next week, all the hostages come home, remains come home, families can heal. I do not want to get bogged down in another war, but I will tell you this. From a strictly tactical, strategic point of view, I'm not saying morally, ethically, or anything like that. I'm just saying when you start cutting off who you perceive to be the enemy of food and water, one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to starve and die, or they're going to move to somewhere where they can have the water and the food. What's really shocking in this whole situation, and one of my good friends was like, why doesn't Egypt take these people? Why doesn't Syria take these people? Or Jordan, or Saudi Arabia, or Kuwait, or Iran, or Iraq? Nobody wants them. You know, Iran should actually be the ones taking this because, truthfully, Iran is the one who's buying Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad. And those are just the three big ones that are coming out of Iran. There are other ones too. And quite frankly, I'm not completely up to speed anymore. I'm glad my information is stale on current threats and everything. But those three organizations, those are the ones who used to hijack the airplanes back in the 80s, do different bombings around the world. And now Israel's just saying, we're cutting everybody off. You got Greta Thunberg out there on her fake flotillas. I know there are many people out there who don't like body cams, but I absolutely love them. When they said that they were doing X, Y, and Z, and the body cam shows that it was really A, B, and C, not X, Y, and Z. Greta Thunberg, or however you say her name, she is all about. She's just a typical Gen Zer. It's all about herself and how she can promote herself, and not actually what's trying to happen in Gaza. Food and water are getting in there. They just can't sneak all the other stuff to continue the fight. And whether you agree with the Abrahamic blessing and curse or not, that's Genesis 1 through 3. Not going to get into a whole sermon on it. I'm just saying you should go read that. And that talks not about a place, but about a people. And there are a lot of Christians here who are saying a lot of blanket statements. When I sit there and I look at them, I'm just like, are you sure you really mean that? Because what's happening over in that neck of the woods, I don't want to be a part of it. I want to know how Israel gets all this money to go buy all these weapons from us. Bruh, F-35s ain't cheap. And the weapons that platform uses, they're not that cheap either. Some are really cheap, though, to be fair. F-35's got some good stuff on it, too, that allows for cheaper munitions. But some of that stuff, some of those dropped weapons are gee whiz expensive. And a lot of people don't understand this about Israel, is that Israel takes our top of the line platforms. So they've got the F-35, they've got the F-15, and they've got the F-16. And what so many of Americans don't understand, which some in this listening audience do understand, is that Israel pulls out all of the U.S. stuff, not all of it, but the stuff that they don't like, and they put in Israeli stuff. And it makes the F-35, their F-15, and their F-16 have different capabilities. I'm not going to say they're better capabilities than the United States military, but it gives them a different set of abilities. There is no way that Israel could be doing what it's doing in the world today if it didn't have those types of technologies, weapons, platforms, etc., to make the job happen. And they do supposedly have nukes. Do you want to believe that or not? That's up to you. I truly do not want to end up finding out the hard way that someone's got a nuke. It's just a bad day for America. And look, we are rapidly approaching the end of the first hour, and we haven't even gotten to talk about Letitia James. Oh, let's do it. Hey, go ahead. You're on the air real quick.
Yes. Could I come and ask you a question?
Yep.
Could Israel exist without America?
Oh, I've got a bad connection here a little bit. I'm going to hang up with you, and I'm going to answer that. You can call back too. But I hate it when I get a good call like that, and it's just the fuzziness, and it's just not good. Call back. let me try to answer this real quickly. Can any nation exist without America? The answer is yes, but it'll be much more difficult. And when we get back, I'll go into depth on that. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Brakes, bald tires, misaligned front end, take it to Greens. Greens Tire and Auto can do it all. Your car can operate just like new again when you take it to Greens. Greens Tire and Auto, Ridgewood Road in Ridgeland. Take it to Greens. 601-957-0201.
Here at Lake and Glass and Tint, we've become well known for two things: window tint and windshields. Now, when it comes to window tint, you already know that we're the go-to for home, car, and office. And as always, we offer free consultations. So if you're in the need of window tint or windshields, give us a call, 601-946-1000. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram or at lakeandglassandtint.com. Lake and Glass and Tint, where quality matters.
Yazoo Valley Electric Power Association wants you to stay away from downed power lines. Downed power lines carry the risk of deadly electric shock, even if the broken wire is not sparking. If a wire is crossing a road or driveway, avoid the area and keep others away. If you see a downed power line, back away and call your utility company or 911. When you call, be prepared to provide the specific address or location of the downed power line so a repair crew can get there as quickly as possible. This safety message brought to you by Yazoo Valley Electric Power Association.
For decades, you've known the name Martin's for good times, great food, and the best live music. Now that's happening at two locations, downtown Jackson and Livingston. Check the websites, martinslivingstonms.com and martinsdowntownjxn.com for the many special events and live music lineups. You can chill with friends on the big patio at the Livingston location and enjoy the blue plate lunches and nightly drink specials. Martin's, downtown and Livingston.
We ain't fearing the Reaper here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. The call-in number is 601-879-0002. I just got a text asking me about my trip to Spain and what was better, the food or the sights. for me, now that I can't scoot around as much as I could, I'd probably say the food, but the sights were incredible. We went to this aqueduct up on the hill in Barcelona. I don't know what it's called. I'd have to ask the sweet bee. But the place was just incredible. But there was so much walking, and a lot of it was literally uphill. And me and my rucksack marching days just not what it used to be. But those sites were incredible. The cathedral that we saw, the oldest cathedral in Europe, I believe, it started over 100 years ago and is still under construction now. That was incredible. There are so many beautiful things to see in Spain. And next week, on Monday, Clay Edwards will be doing 3 hours, and I'll be jumping in with him there. And I have a lot more to speak about that. But I want to save that for Brother Clay, because we've got some ideas on that, and we both agree that that'll be a fun topic to talk about. You know, we basically have blasted through the first whole hour, and we haven't had to talk about Letitia James and what's happening with her. The liberals have completely lost their mind because Comey's been indicted. Letitia James has been indicted, and there will be more. And I really want to spend some time discussing that in the next hour, because Democrats have completely lost their minds, saying that these are attacks. And I literally have journalists trying to make excuses for Letitia James, saying, oh, everybody does it. The hypocrisy is so blatant. And they try to bring up Trump being indicted on those 34 charges and convicted in a kangaroo court. You know, the left is really putting America in a dangerous place because we've always thought that the courts were the one place where justice would prevail. You know, that was the one place where the silliness wouldn't be. But as we're finding out, it's definitely getting kind of silly over there in the courts. I don't even really report on them that much because we've figured out the pattern already. We've got it doped out. The lower courts say it's illegal, can't do that. The next thing you know, it goes to Supreme Court or the appellate court, and it gets flipped right on its head. And that's just the pattern. So we'll continue to monitor that. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back in about 8 minutes.
This is Central Mississippi's stimulating pulse. 103.9 WYAB. Pocahontas, Jackson.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. There's new U.S. tension with China, and a trade war could be heating up again. CBS's Vicki Barker.
Writing on Truth Social, President Trump says there seems to be no reason to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping as part of his upcoming trip to South Korea. This after China restricted exports of rare earths needed for American industry. Trump suggesting he's looking at a massive increase of import taxes on Chinese products in response. China, meanwhile, has just slapped added port fees on arriving U.S. vessels in response to U.S. plans to do the same to them.
The news has unsettled markets. The Dow is down more than 500 points. Now to the Middle East. CBS's Haley Ott reports the Gaza ceasefire is holding as the first phase of the peace plan plays out.
That 72-hour clock has started for Hamas to release the hostages. So we could see that happen anytime in the next 3 days. President Trump said he was expecting to see them released early next week, but it could be sooner than that. The Red Cross, which has facilitated previous hostage releases, says it has begun its preparations. So we know that work is already underway.
National Guard troops today began patrolling in Memphis for the first time. Tennessee Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen says it's not a good look.
Our country was not based on having military control of civilians. And even though the state guard is still the military, and we don't need them here.
The Memphis police chief says the guard will help direct traffic and have a presence in retail areas. CBS's Ian Lee is at an ICE facility outside Chicago where guard troops were spotted yesterday.
We have about a little over 100 protesters on the east side of this ICE detention facility. They are protesting loud. There has been some scuffles with the Illinois State Police. I witnessed some arrests. Tensions are a bit high right now.
Billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel has warned of the destruction of this country in a private lecture series, as we hear from CBS's Michael Wallace.
The Washington Post obtained recordings of Thiel's lectures. He said government oversight and proposed limits on Silicon Valley not only hinder business, but threaten to usher in the destruction of the U.S. and an era of global totalitarian rule. He called critics of technology and capitalism, like Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg, legionnaires of the Antichrist. The Post says Thiel's effort to cast the fight against regulation as a religious battle could intensify the tech industry's crusade.
First Lady Melania Trump says 8 Ukrainian children have been reunited with their families after ongoing talks with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Wall Street, the Dow is down more than 500 points. The S&P down 100. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Not only does Progressive let you bundle your insurance, they also give you round-the-clock protection. Quote today at Progressive.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Vanity Fair calls BritBox a delicious streamer. Collider says everyone should be watching. Catch Britain's next best series with BritBox. Stream acclaimed new originals like Code of Silence.
You read lips, right?
And Linley, based on the best-selling mystery series.
Say hi, Linley. Take it from here.
And don't miss the new season of Karen Piri coming this October.
You don't look like police. I'll take that as a compliment.
See it differently when you stream the best of British TV with BritBox.
Local news and weather brought to you by Mississippi Energy Services. We're your fast, affordable, and friendly generator service company. msenergy.us. msenergy.us.
The man was likely tortured to death. This afternoon, it's 82 and sunny. Tonight, it's 57 and mostly clear. Saturday, sunny at 83. Sunday, sunny and 85. And next week, you can expect upper 80s for highs. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis. 68-year-old Jerry B. Lee was on a walker when prosecutors say he was confronted Wednesday morning by Kalars McElroy on Abrams Ford Drive. Police believe McElroy thought Lee had drugs that belonged to him, stabbed and shot Lee several times with a fatal wound to the head. Lee's body was found in a ditch, and McElroy faces several charges, including murder. He's been given a $1.6 million bond. 5 people have been arrested in the incident in Newton County where a 2-year-old was shot in the leg. Deputies there say it happened in September, but they did not know about it until this month when they were called when the child was treated at the hospital. The arrestees are Jacob Boykin, Sylvania Wilcher, Caitlin Carmichael, Gregory Palmer, and Robert Deering II, charged with neglect. And Boykin and Wilcher also face abuse charges. You should be aware of paving work that will have Old Brandon Road closed from the roundabout at the Jackson Evers International Airport to just west of Centerpoint Boulevard starting at 7 tonight and going through noon Sunday. You are being advised to use 475 to get to the airport. The city of Jackson is introducing a new monthly parking permit if you work downtown or visit downtown a lot, and the cost is $65. The advantage is that if you have the permit, you don't have to pay every time at the kiosk. Also, the 2-hour parking limit will be gone, and you can pay at the kiosk for however much time you need. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions.
And welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Friday, October 10th, 2025. To my sister Megan, happy birthday, sis. Love ya. And we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming on WYAB.com, the mothership. If you wouldn't mind following me on X, I'd appreciate it. Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. I'd appreciate it. That's where I retweet a lot of the stories and let people know what's going on. Look, if you want to be a part of the program today, I got that call at the end of the hour. It was scratchy. Tried to answer his question as succinctly, as quickly as possible. But the number to call in is 601-879-0002. The text line is open, 601-879-5060. I was just thanking a couple of different texters and like, thank you so much for getting back in touch with me. I know I've got like so many texts to get through, and I do try to get them all and at least read them all. But being in Spain and everything, it just kind of fell behind a little bit. Look, the job at the Andrew Gosser Show has not changed. We do not change that for nothing. We're here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. And I will continue to stick with this for a while. The stranger who is among you will arise above you higher and higher, and you will go down lower and lower. He will lend to you, but you will not lend to him. He will be the head, and you will be the tail. Yep. And that is exactly what's happened in the United States. President Trump, I don't agree with everything he says, but he's doing a pretty darn good job of trying to turn that around right now. I know right before I went on vacation, we were talking about the network or Elon Musk boycott of Netflix. For the 1 month, it's down roughly 0.5%. In the 5-day, it's up almost 7%. And in the 1 day, it's up almost 1%. It's bouncing all around. So the boycott call from Elon, that's pretty much been baked into the stock price now at Netflix. Will it continue? I don't know. It still has a bunch of LGBTQ AI plus content that they're pushing. And it just really doesn't seem like the United States citizen really wants to do anything about it at this time. It's almost like the United States citizen is genuinely sick and tired of all the political BS. And they can't figure out why everything's going to hell in a handbasket. But we've got that figured out here. There are so many places to go to. We have to talk about Letitia James because this woman is a special type of stupid. And the truth of the matter is that if you commit a crime, you're going to do the time. And I want you to listen to see what CNN is saying about this because it's breathtaking.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this. Does that aside?
How about that? No one is above the law. Oh, everybody does it, so we're not going to go after this. You know, this is it's almost the same playbook on how the FBI got Capone back in the day. They couldn't get him on the racketeering and all that type of stuff, but they could get him on taxes. You know, they couldn't get Trump on taxes, so they tried to go after him this way. Turns out it's all going to be overthrown there too. It's going to take a while and millions of dollars, but sometimes that's just what it's going to cost to, unfortunately, clear your name, or fortunately clear your name. The truth of the matter is if this was anybody in this listening audience, including myself, if the feds came in with this mortgage type of charge, you would already be cooked. Your goose would be cooked. You'd be getting ready to go get the perp walk. She doesn't get a perp walk. And we still have Fannie Williams down in Georgia. Senator Schiff. I mean, there's literally tens and tens of Democrats who have truly broken the law and are going to get charged. Now, see, this is the big difference, Democrats, that I want to share with you. And you may not agree with it, but you might. The truth here is that there are real crimes committed with Letitia James, Senator Schiff, Fannie Williams, Comey, and Charles Ray, and all those people. That they're going to be charged, and they're going to have their day in court. Now, there are a lot of people who are saying that they'll never get convicted, let alone sent to jail. But I disagree with that. Especially in Virginia. They're truly having come to Jesus moment right now. There they have an attorney general who openly mocked and bragged about wishing that the Speaker of the House of Burges, which is the lower house in Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, openly talk about shooting him twice in the head. And now they want to make this guy the AG. This is why this show will not just go hard right and drink the red Kool-Aid. Because there's things that are wrong over there too. But to the middle of us, and I'm talking to the common sense Democrats out there, and yes, they're out there. I get texts from you all the time. There's this one individual who's like, I don't ever want you to use my name, and I won't. But I can tell by the engagement that we're getting that we are having a serious impact on our culture here locally. And that's what I truly want. I am not necessarily concerned about having statewide implications or anything like that. I want to be able to create a bunch of wonderful people who come in and listen to a talk radio show hosted by me from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday on 103.9 WYAB. And those people will be highly informed and educated to make common sense decisions on the issues of the day. And hopefully I get 1% of you all who are listening to be a precinct delegate in 2028. If that happens, the state of Mississippi seismically shifts. I'm just letting you know now. 1%. 1%. Let's go back and listen to the CNN clip because I want to give much more feedback, but I had to let it play the whole way through.
For a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house.
So, first part of that, this is something everybody in America, no, it's not. Did you do that when you bought your house? Did you knowingly sign a piece of paper, or even unknowingly sign a piece of paper that said you were going to live somewhere and then didn't move in? Did you? What? This is obviously some type of political scheme that more than one politician know about. Now, President Trump didn't sign anything unknowingly. He had real value and real estimates. Now, the fact that the kangaroo court wouldn't allow evidence into court, that's a whole nother issue. And you know what? That's something fair to debate. But if you've got the goods saying you're innocent like Trump does, you know, it's this whole thing that's happening with Trump, it truly reminds me of something that happened to Elon Musk and SpaceX back in 2014. When they were awarded the commercial crew and cargo contract, they were given a loan, not a grant, a loan of $1.4 billion with a B, billion. And like I tell so many of my friends on the right who can't stand SpaceX, I'm like, do you know what we got for that $1.4 billion? We got 2 classes of rockets, Falcon 1 and Falcon 9. We had the development of 5 space engines, Merlin 1, Merlin 2, Merlin 3, the Kestrel, and the Space Merlin. It's incredible. And then we got 2 capsules, one that did cargo and one that did crew. $1.4 billion. Boeing on the other hand, got almost $4 billion. Now here's the kicker. Boeing has never paid back their money, but Elon Musk and SpaceX actually paid that $1.4 billion loan back to the United States early with interest. Not too many people know about that. So now all of a sudden they've leveraged, and this is what makes the United States so great, is we're supposed to use our businesses and our economic prowess to have these enormous jumps in technology in technology in other areas, medicine, pharmaceutical. We're supposed to use that and we're supposed to celebrate that, but we don't with Elon. And in the meantime, Boeing completely, literally splatter the bed, whether you're talking about the 737 MAX, whether you're talking about the F-22, whether you're talking about other military contracts, whether you're talking about space. Boeing has had a really rough 4.5, 5 years, and much of it can be placed to their DEI culture that they've instilled. Let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Listener. Do you think that there's a DEI culture inside SpaceX? If you say yes, I would say, yep, I agree with you. There are people inside SpaceX who believe in DEI. Do they have any prominent say in what's going on? Absolutely not. There was a rocket that blew up a month and a half ago on a test pad. And people thought, we weren't going to be flying for months, if not until next year. SpaceX is kind of like the skunk works of space. They just take problems and they engineer them and they figure out ways to solve them, and then they go on and they do it. They don't give complaints. They don't whine and complain. They don't sit there and say, "Oh, poor me, we blew up our test stand." That's why so many young kids absolutely migrate to companies like SpaceX, Tesla, the Boring Company, Starlink. It's why people flock there, is because they're actually allowed to embrace their creative juices, for lack of a better word, and go out there and do great things with big, hairy, audacious goals. That's going back a ways. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
And I believe we have a special guest for this.
Last one, recognition within the schools. Students deserve to grow into the future. That I am today. And
Oh yeah, I love that song. A listener recommended putting that song on the rotation, and I am grateful and thankful for that. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We've got so much more stuff to talk about, and real quick before we do, Monday just found out Blake Bartlam will be in the studio for the second hour, which is really cool. If you don't know Blake, 17-year-old kid, senior in high school, incredibly politically active, has opinions on just about everything, and he is slowly turning himself into a new young conservative voice out there. I'm not going to put some words on him that are too heavy for him, but I will say I've been around some people who went on to build nationwide type of organizations, and Blake is definitely one of those kids. He is a kid who has the opportunity and the ability to actually do that. So mark your calendars for next Monday, 11 a.m. Blake Bartlam's going to be on the show. It's going to be great. You know, there are some people out there who are texting me saying, Andy, you're not seeing this. You don't have the whole picture. And I just want to say I'm seeing just fine. Maybe it's you that needs to see a little bit better. Perhaps you haven't had a vision test in a while, or if you have, you haven't gotten new glasses yet. And if you do need some new glasses, go hit up my man Bruce Bennett over at iGear Optical. iGearOptical.com is the website. Look, they're open from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 12 or 2, not 12, 10 a.m. to noon. Bruce would be happy to hook you up if you're not seeing what you need to be able to see out of your glasses. Great business. I love the personal attention to detail that he gives his customers. And Bruce, we appreciate you supporting and advertising here on 103.9 WYAB and the Andrew Gosser Show. I really appreciate that. So, how many of us are familiar with Bad Bunny? Bad Bunny is making some bold claims saying that now that he is going to be the halftime show for the Super Bowl, which, if I'm being truthful, I'm not even that hyped for it. Being completely honest, I was a Chicago Bears fan. I got to see one of the greatest teams play in my entire life, which would be the 85-86 Chicago Bears. The Dolphins did go invincible, so they can claim that they're the best, but Bears number 2 by far. That team, man, that was just incredible to watch. But the last time I actually watched the Super Bowl was the year that the Bears lost it, that Devin Hester took the opening kickoff and ran it 98 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. And as he's sprinting down the field, he's actually watching himself run in the big screen. I mean, it is total gangster. And people who can't appreciate a good kickoff like that, that's kind of sad. Go ahead. Let's try this again. Go ahead with your call.
Hello, Andrew. Hey, I wanted to make a point about something you said in the last segment.
Yes, sir.
Tommy Tuberville. Well, people talk about Islamophobia and this and that and the other. First point I want to make is, it's not bad or wrong to be scared of some things. I'm scared of rattlesnakes. I am scared of Islamists that torture, kill, and rape Christians all over the world. That's something we need to be aware of, something we need to be scared of. And I agree with everything y'all said about that.
I appreciate
Another point I wanted to make is I talked to a Trump supporter this morning who only gets his news from the local sources, and he's saying that Trump, I don't know, he's going bad. He wants to indict Comey, who was the head of the FBI, and these people met people, and I said, look, they broke the law.
Yep.
It don't matter who's bringing the charges on them. They need to be held accountable just like every other American. I don't care what high position they have. So the biggest problem we have, and I've talked about this with Jameson before when he was on there, was that our media is shaping the minds of our public, and we have to hold them accountable for telling these things. I've never called in before. I like you. You've taken over for Jameson. I listen to you every day, and man, I love it. I love you. I love the fact you're a Christian. You preach all these things and trying to help straighten people out. And I'm not going to take a bunch of your time. I just want to tell you I enjoy your show, and I agree with everything you say.
Brother, thank you so much. And I really appreciate the phone call. And, it makes me, it just does something to my spirit inside when I get calls like that, where people say, I like the show. I love what you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you're not afraid to bring up Jesus and the gospel, because this is a biblical worldview here on the Andrew Gosser Show. I'm not going to run from that. I've done a lot of silly, stupid things in my life, but that's one of the things that when I go up to be in front of God, I don't want to say that I didn't use this platform that Jameson so graciously gave to me. And there's like so much more to that story, dude. Back in February, March, I was so sick. It wasn't even funny. It was so bad. So bad. And then Jameson says, hey, you want to take over the radio show for me? I'm going to go do something else. And this was back in the end of April. And I was like, well, let me think. He called me back the next day and he just wouldn't let up. And I'm not saying I'm 100% healed yet, but if you look at me and we look at all of my health stuff compared to where I was in March, April to where I am now, I've improved so much. God is good. And we do have to hold the media accountable, brother. But what I want to say, and this goes for everybody, there are so many other sources for media out there. And the truth of the matter is that, like you're seeing in CBS with Barry Weiss taking over and just completely gutting, not the real journalists, but the propagandists. They're out of there. The journalists are going to be okay. And there are so many more places now to get your news. It's why I really, really impress on so many people to get on X, get on Getter, get on Rumble, citizensfreepress.com, Magnolia Tribune. I'm just reading you off some of the places I go. I go to Mississippi Free Press, Mississippi Today. I know they're left wing, but I want to know what my enemy is thinking. Because to defeat your enemy, you must know them. And we should study them. And I realized I kind of took a tangent here, but that call was just so awesome. And look, again, you want to know who's a major news media source now? One of the top streamers in all of the world is now the Charlie Kirk Show with Erica Kirk. Their shows are killing it. Jimmy Kimmel, you ain't got jack on Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk. And if you want to believe Charlie, which many of us do, he always said that his wife was more conservative than he was. My goodness gracious. Speaking of Charlie in the Bible, I've got this quote here, if I can find it. Let me find it real quick here. I think this is worthy to spend a minute of time on this. Shucks, I can't find it. Long story short, Charlie was on a podcast. Well, you know what? We're going to take an early commercial break. When I get back, I'll find that clip. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
How could we find husbands if they're busy subscribing to fans chicks?
The first piece of advice I have for young ladies is do not post suggestive material of yourself online. Men want what they cannot see and cannot have. Mystery is lacking in the West. And I know this is lost on a lot of young ladies. They say, the more I post of myself on, with a bikini on the beach, the more men will like you. No, I mean, the more they'll want to have sex with you, but then they'll look at you as just a visual or a commodity, not as a future soulmate. The second part is religious men check a lot of the boxes that you guys are looking for. If you're looking to find a man in the West and it's your number one priority, and you were given a random selection of a Catholic man or kind of a femboy atheist, you would take the Catholic.
Yeah, I would. This is
So
funny.
how many of you are then going to church actively trying to find a man? And so my advice to my two Australian friends is that if you want the thing that is the most important thing to you, start making those decisions younger than older, because you might end up be filled with a lot of money and a lot of regret.
Well put, Charlie. Well put.
How could we find
And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We are going to get to Bad Bunny, but just bringing up what kind of came up in the last part of the conversation, I want to play this. And one of the things I do plan to do with the Andrew Gosser Show going forward, at least once or twice a week, I want to try to bring up an old clip of Charlie or an old clip of Rush, not because I want to monetize it and live off their fame and wisdom, but to pass it along. Just because he said it one time and now it's gone, doesn't mean that we can't go back and highlight and go back over it. And that's the goal of this. And this is a clip of Charlie that I played to my daughter, and her eyes got really big. But then again, she's a lady, and the fact that she got to hear this a lot younger than a lot of other ladies do, I think it had a positive impact on her life.
How could we find husbands if they're busy subscribing to fans chicks?
The first piece of advice I have for young
How can I find a husband when they're subscribing to OnlyFans chicks? That is the question.
ladies is do not post suggestive material of yourself online. Men want what they cannot see and cannot have.
Yep. All you girls who are sitting there taking these selfies with you got the angle just right and you got your bill, you know how you do the duck bill thing with your lips, or you cross your eyes and stick your tongue out. I still don't understand what the heck that means, but you're doing it because you cannot miss it if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. There's girls just acting that way. Charlie's got it all figured out.
History is lacking in the West. And I know this is lost on a lot of young ladies. They say, the more I post of myself on, with a bikini on the beach, the more men will like you. No, I mean, the more they'll want to have sex with you.
The more they'll want to have sex with you. That's a fact. And the fact that you're showing off your behind and you're taking all of these sultry pictures basically tells a guy, hey, there's a higher probability of this happening.
You, but then they'll look at you as just a visual or a commodity, not as a future soulmate. And the second part is religious men check a lot of the boxes that you guys are looking for. If you're looking to find a man in the West and it's your number one priority, and you were given a random selection of a Catholic man or kind of a femboy atheist, you would take the Catholic.
Yeah, I would. It's
So
funny.
how many of you are then going to church actively trying to find a man?
You know what? Look at these girls' faces. They're just like, oh, crap. Busted. And it's true. And Charlie was a Protestant, but Charlie's faith, he was always bringing people in. Even if they didn't 100% agree with him, he preached Jesus and let it go. And I think there's a lot of people inside the Christian community who could learn a lot from Charlie Kirk on the way that he ministered. Not a reverend, not a doctor. But I will tell you what, as someone who has read the Bible for a while, his recall was absolutely incredible. And that's another reason they had to kill. They didn't kill Charlie, they murdered him. That's the reason they had to murder him. Because he just had this ability. It's like some people can lay bricks, some people can play a sport. Charlie could do this. Let's finish this up.
And so my advice to my two Australian friends is that if you want the thing that is the most important thing to you, start making those decisions younger than older, because you might end up be filled with a lot of money and a lot of regret.
Well put, Charlie.
Yep. And you can see the girls there actually going, oh my gosh. In that video was the former #1 OnlyFans girl. I don't know her name, but she did end up going on a podcast where she completely gave up the whole lifestyle and found God, and now has a fiance. They're getting married. They're going to start a family, and God can use all sorts of different people to achieve his ends and his means. And that's what Charlie Kirk was doing when he's alive. Now that he's passed on, what's Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA doing now? Well, they're going after Bad Bunny and the Super Bowl. Turning Point USA is thinking about having their own Super Bowl halftime show. And I'm curious to hear what listeners think, what not subscribers, but what people who listen to the show actively think. Should there be a counter Super Bowl halftime show to this stuff that Bad Bunny? Look, Bad Bunny's music doesn't do anything for me. For the record, I spent 10 minutes trying to listen through and just kind of pick up whether it's a jam, nope. And the dude, he is searching for clout. He's clout chasing. He, in my opinion, it is not a very good musician. I'm not saying that to be hateful, but I'm just saying for my taste and my opinion, I'm not there. I'm not there at all. And if we can somehow send a message to the NFL and to America that, look, we don't want this sexism being shoved down our throats. The truth of the matter is like 99% of humanity is going to end up having sex one day. They don't need to be groomed by the American mainstream media, a degenerate group of schleps who have no true joy on the inside, but instead take glee in spreading misery and pain. The mainstream media is not your friend. They're not the Constitution's friend. They are in business for themselves. And again, I was talking to a friend of mine saying, you know, I'm not one of these big conspiracy theorist people, and I'm not. Project Mockingbird is not a conspiracy theory. It's a real thing. You can't mock me. You can't ridicule me. You can't make fun of me for bringing up Mockingbird. I can sit there and go point for point. And I've had to do it a few times in front of some liberals because they didn't think that those things happened. So that's the main reason they don't want to talk, is the reason that they assassinated our friend Charlie, is because he could have a talking conversation and actually change your mind. And the liberals don't want anything to do with that. All they want to do is bump chests and go to war. Think about it. I'm not saying anything that it is over the top, quote unquote, out there. And this is not to say that Republicans don't thrive on confrontation too, because we do. For me personally, when someone challenges me on an idea or a thought of mine, and I feel like I've thought it through, and then all of a sudden I get challenged in a way I wasn't expecting, I do have to go back and say, let me think about that. I'll get back to you. Because remember, the political left is all slogans and sound bites, not solutions. And I've got plenty of other examples here on my computer that I can sit there and talk about how the left is talking about slogans and solutions and not actually doing the things that they need to do to go out there to actually convince people of their point of view. That's what I want to do here. I've got one more important school board meeting. I know I'm kind of smashing this in here. It's a longer clip. I'll speed it up just a little bit to 1.25 speed, but LGBTQ agenda just passed 7-0 for LGBTQA History Month at a school board. And all of you tell me school boards aren't important. I see it in the messages too, but listen to this.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for coming and speaking to this important occasion. Board members, do you have anything to say? Go ahead, Jess.
First, just thank you for being an advocate for students and for being their voice when they can't be here. I really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate that you asked them what they wanted us to know and what they wanted us to hear about, because every time we have students come tell us anything, I think those are often the most meaningful comments. So I really appreciate you bringing that in, and just thank you for being here.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Kevin.
I was thinking about some remarks for tonight. I was actually reading through the resolution, which is displayed around us, but it's a little hard to see. So I thought there are two clauses I think are very eloquent and probably far more eloquent than anything I could render. So with your permission, I'd just like to read those for our community. Part of the resolution says, whereas Poudre School District is committed to providing a safe and welcoming learning environment where all students, employees, families, and community members are recognized, supported, included, and celebrated. I just got an email, excuse me. Regardless of their gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation. And whereas the Poudre School District Board of Education wholeheartedly embraces our LGBTQI+ students, employees, families, and community members for their perspectives, experiences, and contributions they bring to our schools and workplaces. And the board strives to ensure that they are seen, accepted, valued, and celebrated for who they fully are. I thought that was important to read.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Andrew, do you want to? Yeah.
I think a number of you probably are bringing out that I love me my history, and I just want to add on to what Kevin was saying about there's this tiny little document that promises life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to all. So let's add that on as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who is supporting this LGBTQIA plus History Month. I also want to point out that it's Banned Books Week. And so that's one of the things that you'll see a lot is that the LGBTQIA books that get banned, that's one of the more popular reasons to try and ban a book is because of the LGBTQIA content. And I just thought I just wanted to share with you a little.
That's enough. It's not that it's the content. It's that you are sexually perverting our kids. And this goes on to get past 7-0, wherever this school board is. You know, they're happy with men, young men, boys going through puberty, going into the girls' locker room. People say, oh, we don't have that problem here in Mississippi. We don't, but we could. You know, so many of you have told me how you're upset with how they're getting rid of the U.S. history test. Imagine if you were a school board member. And again, to become a school board member, people are like, Andy, you oversimplify running for office. Maybe I do. But I understand how to run. I understand how it works. And if we really want to go out and do something like that, then we should. We're going to take our final break of the Andrew Gosser Show here on Friday, October 10th. Where did the time go? I don't know, but we're going to take our last break. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah, we are back for the final segment of the Andrew Gosser Show today. It was awesome to get back. I really did miss everybody. It's interesting because I'm sitting here feeling so much more refreshed. It wasn't that I felt like I needed a break, but getting that break and actually uncoupling from all the different news sources and actually just enjoying the Mediterranean sun and enjoying time spending quality time with my sweet bee and my Toots McCracken. And I guess that's like one of the biggest lessons that I really learned in Spain was I watched how the sense of family is so much more embedded in Spanish culture than it is in American culture. Think about this. We worry about getting our kids to soccer practice more than eating dinner at the dinner table. We worry more about making sure our kids are in certain activities than it is understanding, hey, why, Dad, do you think like this? Mom, why don't I think it should be this way? Why do you think it should be different? Look, the infestation that is the anxiety device, I'm holding up my iPhone here. You know, the anxiety device is there. And what was really amazing is we would go out and we would turn our phones off. We'd have them on us, but you couldn't call us. You couldn't. Blue Force Tracker wasn't working. It was just a great trip. And we were all able to reconnect and have some time off. It was good. And I think it bodes well as we get ready to go into the fall. You know, we got an election coming up next month. We've got to talk about that. But in the meantime, men, you know it's Friday. Your woman's been working hard for you. She loves you. Hopefully you give her a little something back, whether that be flowers. Sometimes I'll go and get my sweet bee a massage card and have her get that done, or a pedicure or a manicure. You got to make it happen. Take care, everybody. Have a blessed day. We'll see you in about 46 hours. Take care. Be blessed, everybody.